this video, I'm going to talk through a few fundamentals about referencing in essay writing and say a couple of things about how you should reference, what you should reference, and most importantly, why you should reference. The how question is mostly a matter of convention. There are set guidelines which you need to follow, and that's pretty much it. It can be a little confusing and a little tedious at times, but it's basically just a matter of following a set pattern. I'll come back to this in a moment. The what question involves a bit of judgment, deciding which ideas you need to provide a reference for. And this is all very much based on the answer to the why question. As I say, the issue of why we reference is by far the most important of the three questions. And if you can get a good sense of this, the other two elements should follow on quite easily. So why do we reference? The standard answer is that it's to show where it was that you got your information. But just thinking of it in these terms doesn't really help a great deal with understanding the very important role referencing plays in academic essay writing. There are basically three reasons for referencing. The first is that referencing is one of the tools that you have for making an argument. Citing the work of others, especially those who are acknowledged experts in their field or who have done studies on the topic you're discussing, is a way of providing a form of evidence for what you yourself want to say. You want to persuade the reader that what you're saying is true or is based on valid knowledge, and citing people who are authorities on the matter is one way of doing this. Another reason for referring to the work of others is to use it as something to argue against. Scholars rarely agree on absolutely everything, and there are very often rival theories about things. Knowledge is also always changing, so something which might have been the standard interpretation a few decades ago might have been superseded by new theories today. And in discussing a topic, you may want to refer to these sorts of differences of opinion as a way to make your own point. And finally, referencing is a way of giving due credit to the people who originally came up with the ideas you're writing about. And conversely, it's a way to avoid appropriating the ideas of others. That's to say, it's a way to avoid plagiarism. If you can approach referencing with these issues in mind, and remember that it's basically a tool you can use to help you strengthen the argument you're developing in the essay, then you're off to a very good start. So, how much do you have to reference? Or, to put it another way, what should you reference? This is a good question, and as I said, involves a little judgment on your part. The basic principle is that you reference ideas which originated with someone else, so that you're recording where these ideas are from and you're using them to strengthen your argument. Different people will have slightly different expectations about this though, so it's not an exact science. But on the whole, if you're making use of an idea you've read about elsewhere, you should cite the source of that idea. For this reason, passages of an essay which focus more on theory or the explanation of concepts are likely to have slightly more references in them than passages which look at examples, although you will still want to reference the source of your examples briefly as well. Okay, so how do you go about referencing? As I say, the way we write references is simply a set of conventions that have developed over time. These conventions are laid out in the guidance notes that accompany your course, often in quite lengthy detail, and they just need to be followed. But again, the first thing to do is to understand the principles behind the conventions. There are various ways you can use other people's ideas in your own work. You can quote directly from them. You can summarize what they've said, i.e. condense the ideas in your own words. Or you can paraphrase, which is basically just putting the ideas in your own words without condensing them that much. A reason for quoting directly is if the way the person has expressed their idea is particularly important and you want to retain this. In this case, you use quotation marks around the quote and add a citation which includes the page number for the quote. Otherwise, it's best to paraphrase or summarize your source's ideas, in which case you want to add a citation but you don't need to add a specific page number. As I say, there are different conventions across different disciplines about the details you need to include and how they're formatted. But in linguistics, each reference is made up of two parts. There's an in-text citation which goes in the body of the essay at the point where you're discussing the source, and then an end-of-text reference which is part of a list of all the references that you've used, which gives full details of the source. So everything you include in the list at the end should also be included as an in-text citation somewhere in the body of the text itself. And everything you include as an in-text citation should also feature in the list at the end. And then, very basically, the in-text citation should include the author or authors, along with the date of publication, and, if it's a direct quote, the page number. While the end reference includes author's name, date of publication, title, place of publication, and publisher, plus a few other details depending on the type of publication it is. But as I say, it's at this stage that it's best to look at the specific guidelines for your course and simply follow the format that's laid out there. So that's a quick overview of referencing. Basically, it's a mixture of sticking to some rather detailed guidelines about formatting, but also thinking about what role it plays in the essay writing process and how it's used as a way of helping you to communicate your ideas and understanding of the subject.
Et sur toute la gamme, je chante mon bonheur.